Hello basketball coaches, today I'm going to talk to you about how I pick the players for my team and also the aspects that I look for as a coach in players. So in basketball there's 5 positions. There's point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. They also go by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Basically, what we're looking at in each one of these positions. Number 1 is the point guard. This is the guy who can dribble the ball up the court. If he's pressured, he can still handle the ball without turning the ball over. Shooting guard, he can do the same thing. He's able to dribble the ball, he can dribble up the court, and basically in basketball, those 2 positions are starting to kind of become one. And that is the position I played, which is swing guard. That is the position where you can have a player who can play point guard or shooting guard. If the point guard gets pressured and he needs to give up the ball, he has basically a backup option for him to pass to so that that player can now dribble the ball up the court. From there is the forward, small forward, and power forward. Again, those 2 positions are starting to become one. Those players are interchangeable these days, and basically what you're getting there is usually the faster players on the court for the small forward position. That's the player 3. That's the 3rd position on the team. And basically, I like to pick the fastest player for that position. That is the guy who, as soon as there's a shot up, when he's on defense, he's running down the court as fast as he can so that he can get the outlet pass from the outlet player so that he can go in for a layup. I like to have him as the fastest player on the court. Meanwhile, when I played basketball, when I was in high school and later on when I went down to the D-League, the power forward and the center were kind of the same position, and you can still play like that as well. They're kind of the 2 biggest players on the court. And when I coach, if I have a team that's big enough, I usually have 2 centers on at the same time because I like to run plays that really focus on the low post, because in my kind of version of playing basketball, coaching basketball, I would rather have a layup close in who can get an and one, and then maybe some free throw shots to get the 3rd point. And that seems like a lot higher of a percentage chance than 3-point shooting. However, if I don't have a tall team, or even if I do have a tall team and have some good shooters, I definitely rely on the big players now to set screens for the players who can shoot so that they can cut along the baseline. They can pop out to the corner for a 3-point shot. So even if you don't have a tall team, you can still get players open for 3-point shots. And if you have a tall team with good shooters, you can do plays like that as well. And if you don't have any shooters, you can still focus in on the low post if you have tall enough players. So when I'm running tryouts, I have a piece of paper that has I would have some volunteers, I would have some parent managers from previous years, and they would be at the tryout desk and they would get the player's name, and then they would write a number on the player's leg, and then they would have that same number next to their name on the piece of paper. And then from there, I would have them measure the height of the player, and then something that not many coaches do at the youth level is measure their wingspan. This is something that you see in the NBA, and there's a reason why I do this. And that is, it's something I learned off of a coach called Senka Sobat, and she used to measure the player's legs. This is the same player who found Fiondu. He is a player from Burlington who just got drafted this year in the NBA, and he's going to be a fantastic player. So she used to measure the player's legs, and the players with the longer legs versus their upper body height are going to be very tall, very athletic players in her mind. Now, in my mind, I do the leg measurements as well, but I do wingspan. The reason for this is the players with longer wingspans take up more area of the court, especially when they're playing defense, so they can pick off those passes a lot easier. This way I can pick my small forwards who are the fastest, and if they have a longer wingspan, so let's say I have 2 players who are the fastest on the court, I would rather pick the player who has got a bigger wingspan than the other player who may not. But generally speaking, there's 3 players that I pick first, and that is the tallest player of the tryout, tallest and biggest player. Second player I pick is the fastest player. The 3rd player I pick is the best player. Those are the 3 players that I pick number 1 first. From there, I start filling out the team. So I will pick usually 8 players, the 8 best players who fit the positions for the team. The rest of the 4 positions are players who are going to be possible future good players. So those are the players who have the athletic bodies, who may be the fastest, who may be the strongest, who may have the longest wingspan, who may have the longest legs versus their upper body height. Things like that. So I will have my set 8 players, and then I'll have 4 players who I'm working on for the future. And we've all had players up here, any of the really good coaches, so myself, Lang, Sanka Sobat, many other coaches who pick players who have athletic bodies who later on go and do big things. Fiondu is one of them. There's another player who's gone over to Europe. I can't remember his name right now, but he was kind of the longest player. Again, it was Nelson's coach who picked him, and he was very athletic, and he's gone over to play over in Europe. And these players, even though they might not be our number 1 players up first, 2 or 3 years down the road, they're going to be our best players, and they're going to be our most athletic players. And then there's recruiting. You have to recruit players to your team sometimes. You might not be able to fill out a full 10 or 12 player team. You need to go recruiting. And there's a few places that you can go to that will allow you to be successful. Number 1 is football. Football is huge. Players are going to be strong. They're going to be athletic. Number 2 is track and field. You're going to look for the fastest players on that field. They're going to be the fastest players on the track. You need to find those players and be like, yo, do you play basketball? If not, I'll teach you, and you can play on my team. But first, you don't just go up to the players. You have to go up to the parents or the teachers first and say, hey, look, this is where I coach. I'm interested in that player playing for my team. So those are the 2 places that you can get some pretty good players. A third place is volleyball. The reason why this is good is because they're going to be able to jump very high. So if you want to be able to have a good defender in the low post who can block some shots, or somebody who's going to be very fast, because generally players who can jump high can also be very fast on the court, then they're also going to be good options for you. So this is how I do my recruiting, and this is also how I'm able to find and pick a team. I hope that this helps you become a better basketball coach and a better basketball team. If it does, let us know in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys again later on today for our second video of the day.